Road game, tough environment, no big deal for number one Auburn as they go into Oxford and get to the 92-82 win. At times, you thought Ole Miss was going to claw back into this thing, and Auburn kept holding them off, even when Johni was not really scoring any points in the second half. I told you on the next round that at some point, Taylor, there'd be a lot of screaming about the officiating. It seemed to impact Janai a little bit in the second half. The no calls on the contact, but this team can attack you different ways. They played through the adversity, and they get another SEC quad one road win.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the depth of this team. I don't think Janai scored in the second half until that late layup. But I mean, Miles Kelly was hitting his shots. Denver Jones seems to have his shot back. Tahad Pettiford made a few big time shots, when Auburn really needed them. So again, speaks to the depth of this team. Janai had an incredible first half, but I think that he was letting he was disagreeing with some calls in the second half. And I think that he let his emotions get the best of him at a few different points throughout the game. And that's something that, he's going to have to work on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think he has to work on it, to be honest with you.
But
You've got to. I mean, big men they get fouled all the time, and I tweeted about it in the last game. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to do anything differently. He just has to expect it because that's going to happen the rest of the season. It just happens to guys in his position, especially when you're an elite scorer like he is. He is object number one of the game plan, and if you can hang on him and they're going to let you hang on him or touch him or disrupt him, then that's going to be what they're going to do. And if they don't call those fouls early on, that'll be the game plan to try to slow him down. He had 13 in the first half. He was owning the game in the first half. And then he had other people that carried the water when he wasn't scoring points, and he was still helping. Even when he wasn't scoring points. We'll get to your comments. We always do. This is the basketball show post game of Auburn's win. 5 wins, 5 road games, all wins in the SEC. Haven't lost in the SEC, but you're getting to the point now where a majority of the end here is at home, is at Neville Arena. And you have a couple of interesting 3 more road games, including one in Tuscaloosa, where game day is almost 100% sure to be where I'm at right now. But I mean, you only got 3 more SEC road games. I mean, you're starting to maybe see a light at the end of the tunnel that this team. I'm not going to say let's don't talk about going undefeated, but I mean, they're not going to have a losing record on the road. They've already got 5. There's only what is it? I guess there's 9 road games, so 4 more road games. So you've
yeah,
already got a winning record on the road.
which is extremely impressive. And we talked about this
Yes,
earlier this week. This was a game that I think a lot of people were concerned about
I
and
thought
would
they'd
not.
lose
And
it.
yeah, I would not have been surprised if they did. And their shooting was concerning. The past, 2 or 3 games, they were not shooting well, but they seem to have, gotten out of that slump, which is very encouraging to see. They started the game 3 from 3 from deep, which was a breath of fresh air for the guys that have struggled they struggled at Georgia, they struggled versus Tennessee, they struggled. I mean, they've struggled for the past 3 games, and you can credit some of that to good defense, but shots that they would typically hit, and they're still struggling a little with those easy layups, which at points in this game today, I think they could have extended their lead if they were just hitting those easy shots. But they're starting to hit their threes again. And yes, Forrester, yes,
Yes. Denver Jones goes practically unnoticed, but that dude just makes winning plays, is what Forrester says in the chat there. You can jump in the chat. James says Auburn is really, really good and unanimous number one. And um, again, I'll say it a lot. There's no way they're falling. It would take a disaster for them to fall off the one line. And they're starting to become a gap between a lot of teams in Auburn for the number one overall. I mean, we're getting to the point where Auburn could lose some games and still be the number one overall seed. So yes, James, they are really, really good. Wait and see gives you a little war damn early on. Jay says, holy cow, LFG, LFG. I mean, what a win, what a team, what a performance. I want to talk about what Jay's talking about there, Taylor, because Chris Beard, Ole Miss, they're known for defense. They came into this building here at Coleman Coliseum and I think held Alabama to, they beat them 67-57, something like that. Beard coaches defense. When Auburn went to the Final Four, Chris Beard was there with Texas Tech because of their defense, and Auburn scored 41 in each half today. 41 in the first, 41 in the second against a Chris Beard defense on the road. That is capital letters impressive.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to them getting their shot back. This
By the
team,
way, time out, time out. I just did bad
50,
math. 41-51 in the
51.
second. They
Yeah.
scored more. Yeah, yeah, to get to
I did.
92.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were looking at Ole Miss as well. I was going to let you go.
No,
I
no,
didn't
no,
want to
no.
correct you.
Instantly correct bad math. 41-51 in the second half. So it got even better in the second half to get to 92.
Yeah, and it did not look great at the start of the second half, but I mean that goes back to they're getting their shot back. I don't know what it is now. I haven't looked to see if there have been any changes according to the Ken Palm adjusted offensive efficiency, but they're the number one offense in the country for like they have the potential to score a lot of points. They've struggled over the past few games, but their shots are falling again. And so that's what this team is capable of doing.
Yeah, more importantly for Chad Baker-Mazara, his shot is falling because it had
Yeah.
the Tennessee game. I don't think he hit a field goal there. It wasn't great the next game. He was 6 of 10, 4 of 6 from three. And when you look at 4 of 6 from him for three, 4 of 7 from three for Denver, 3 of 6 from three for Miles Kelly, to me, that's the game. If you're able to shoot over the Chris Beard defense, freeze things up for Cardwell and Johni and everyone else inside, those three guys get the star of the game for me: Chad Baker, Denver, and Miles, just from what they did on the 3-point line today. All of them 50% or better from three. That is bombs away, and that is a perfect combination.
Yeah, because they were 8 of 25 from three just, 3, 4 days ago at LSU.
Right.
So, and that's something that Bruce has talked about, and it's something that Nate Oates has also talked about. It's, when you have talented shooters on your team, shooters shoot. They don't let misses get in their head, and that goes to show, yeah, they've had a couple days to regroup, but they shot 8 of 25 3 days ago, and then they were 50% from three today. So it seems like they're getting a little bit, they're getting back in their groove a little bit.
Yeah, Blake says the refs definitely had their whistles ready to go. Brooke could have easily have had two potential technicals there. Pat Adams is the gift that keeps on giving. That is I mean, I think that goes all the way back to the 90s, 19-1 Troy, the Pat Adams gift there. AU Clay, there was a 5-minute period in the second half that it felt like Auburn was whistled for a foul every Ole Miss possession. That
Yeah.
was the case. I mean, it got that way late for both teams, but specifically in that one section when I think it got back to 59-58 at the under 8 timeout, I think. And that's when the game was on the lines, 59-58. Ole Miss had sort of owned the half at that point. Fouls weren't going Auburn's way, and somebody had to step up, and you had some big plays. Like out of one timeout, they designed a play. Chad Baker got an old-fashioned three-point play, couple of big threes in there. This team just every time that they had to make a play when it looked like Ole Miss could get back and take the lead in the second half, they push it back to 6 or 7 points, and that is championship basketball.
Exactly. They could win in a number of different ways. They played a lot of close games, and that's something that after, starting with Iowa State and Maui, they've proven that they can win when the game is on the line. The lights aren't too big for a lot of these guys. And yeah, Denver Jones so under, and his defense, even because he's been off shooting along with many of his teammates over the past few games, but his effort on the defensive end of the court is extremely valuable to this team because the nights that they haven't been shooting great, it's their defense that has kept them in these games.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll put up 6 comments, but anytime Denver and Jones comments pop up today, you read that one. The rest of them you haven't been
Yeah.
reading. You got you
Well,
got
I
you got
think
eyes for Denver today.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to what I think it was what Forrester said. He doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, there are so many stars on this team. There are so many guys. I mean, Denver Jones had 16, Janiyah had 20, Chad had 18, Miles had 15, Dylan had 10, Todd had 9, but he made some big shots. So there are so many people to talk about. Janai is obviously always getting talked about. Miles, Chad, like he doesn't get talked about enough, and he contributes in a massive way.
NH3425. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Miles Kelly is an overall better 3-point shooter than Bryce Brown. I tell you what, save that question in our Sunday night, Monday morning edition of the basketball show. Let's compare Miles Kelly to Bryce Brown, and maybe let's pull up some dynamics, some stats, if you will, of that Final Four Auburn team and this team, because I think you're going to be surprised about how much better this team is in the regular season than that team was that went to the Final Four. This team regular season numbers are going to compare more to the Jabari Walker Kessler team, I
Yeah.
believe. But let's get into the stats and see that maybe coming up for Monday's show. This is the basketball show brought to you by our friends at mybookie.ag. Also, our friends at roback.com, promo code TNR20. TNR20 gets you in there. For the crazy day in the SEC already without Zakai Ziegler, Tennessee won by 20 at home against number 5 Florida. Missouri went on the road and annihilated Mississippi State in Starkville. And now Auburn, number 1 in the country, has gone on the road and won at Ole Miss. Turnovers early on. Were you concerned how sloppy the play was early on? And like the first, at least through the first TV timeout, it's a little bit longer. I think Auburn had 6 turnovers in basically 5 minutes of play.
No, that wasn't super surprising to me because one of the things that was talked about a lot prior to this game was how much Ole Miss turns opponents over. I think they lead the country, if not they're top 5 in the country, in forcing turnovers. So I was expecting that. But like you said, the first 5 minutes were brutal in terms of turnovers. But it seems like once they kind of got into the rhythm of the game, they cleaned that up a little bit. They had 8 in the first half, 4 in the second half. So it improved in over half of those 8 were in the first half of the first half of the first half. So it's like once they got it figured out, they improved. They improved throughout, and second half they cleaned that up a lot.
Yeah, you're good on nicknames, by the way, with Primetime Pettiford. So see
Yep.
if you could come up with something. As Chris says, Hack a Janai. Hack started with Hack a Shack, which rhymes. Hack a Janai. We need something that sort of makes that work, that rhymes with Hack a Janai there, or with Janai. So work on that one in your downtime.
He
See
gets
what you can
beat
do.
up. He does get beat up.
Yeah, ball fan 205. I'm just happy Dunaway is so heavy on Auburn. Yeah, I was all over Florida today too, so I helped you out there too. And by the way, I was on Ole Miss as well, so it's not like I'm all over Auburn all the time. James says this is the best record to start a season ever in Auburn basketball. I don't know that to be true. I know 19-1 tied their best 20 game start. I
Yeah.
don't know what their best 21 game start is. I have a feeling they also went 20-1, but I'm not sure. I've not read any where yet, but maybe James already knows. Maybe I'll get a note later on tonight from Marlene that says this is the best 21 game start in Auburn history.
I am trying to. Okay, so the win
Yeah,
that that matched the first 20 or the best 20 game start.
yeah, 19 to
I'll
1
try and
did.
see if I can right. This is only the second time in program history that they have won multiple SEC road games versus ranked opponents. So that's
Wow.
the only other season that has happened was it was the 1987-1988 season. They beat number 1 Kentucky on the road and number 17 Vandy on the road. So that's some
A
history for you.
couple more minutes here for your comments. 19-1 Troy. I'm going to go on a limb and say this is the only team that can beat Auburn is Auburn. It'll
Yeah.
be fun. February 15th will be fun to see what Auburn can do on the road here in Tuscaloosa with game day here. That'll be one of those huge, huge games. But already 5-0 with 2 ranked wins on the road and 4 more SEC road games. A big one coming up Saturday at home, and little T and I will be there for that one at Neville when Florida comes to town. But I'm concerned about Florida now after the way they got dismantled um, today in Knoxville. So that game doesn't look as overwhelming as I thought it did at one point.
Yeah, they host Vanderbilt on Tuesday before coming to Auburn. And it's one of those things where it's like, do you want them coming off? I would probably more, I would like for them to be coming off a win more so than coming off a loss, which I think that they can and will beat Vanderbilt at home. But, you know, that's gonna be a little extra motivation after they just got handled well in Tennessee, at Tennessee. February 1st, 2020. Yeah, and there was another stat that I need to go back and find that we can talk about all of this tomorrow as well, but undefeated January, which is another accomplishment, especially I think that Dunaway's frozen also, but that's another accomplishment, especially considering how competitive this conference is this season, because obviously January, you're not playing any non-conference games, you're not playing any cupcake games. At that point, the SEC play is in full swing, and those are the only teams you're playing. So I'll wrap things up. Dunaway, it seems like, is having some internet issues. He's currently in Tuscaloosa, so not sure what's going on there. But Auburn gets the win 92-82 over number 23 Ole Miss on the road, improves their overall record to 20-1 on the season, only loss coming at Duke during the SEC-ACC Challenge, and they improved to 8-0 in conference play. So they return home to play Oklahoma on Wednesday, I believe. Tuesday. They return home, play Oklahoma on Tuesday, and then they host Florida on Saturday, who's currently ranked number 5. Don't know where they will sit after a bad loss to Tennessee, a team that they previously beat by 30 at home. So that'll do it for today. Dunaway will be, or not for today, for right now. We'll be back after the Alabama game. So tune back in about probably an hour and a half after the conclusion of the Alabama-Georgia game, and we will be right back here with you. I'm trying to check and see what the score. The current score, Alabama's currently up by 8. There are 5 minutes remaining in the first half. So we will be back after that game. But until then, we will see you guys. Thanks for joining us, and War Eagle.